Hey there, this is Andrew, and I'm going to be going over the Saurian cards from Winds of Exchange. All right, so what do you expect here? In Saurian, in general, I'm looking for a serious board presence, some capture, but also some exalt to get some benefit in exchange for giving amber to my opponent later, potentially. Hopefully, also some amber manipulation to take advantage of amber on my creatures and actually turn it into a positive for me. Um, in Winds of Exchange, there are some pretty interesting cards. There's actually some pretty decent efficiency in some of the tokens, and so that's worth looking for. Um, we'll see. Uh, and also, oftentimes some damage effects that can be pretty interesting. But it depends on exactly what we get. Okay, yeah. So I think I think that's some warding too. A little bit of armor, but they tend to like some warding. Okay, if I open up a deck and I see that it has Saurian, what do I want to go next to it? In Winds of Exchange, the answer, um, what is the answer? Probably like Bryo's Arc and no, probably Unfathomable. Uh, things like a Bryo's Arc to control the opponent. Maybe some other capture effects, some things to do when I'm not on Saurian can be pretty good. So, um, in in this set, I think the obvious combo to love is Legionary Trainer with the Scholar token. That's quite powerful. Um, but I'm also a fan of like Faust uh, or Brachus with ancient or with not ancient power but Pax Sariana. Um, yeah, which is pretty good. So yeah, there's some fun options. Um, if I could have a Maverick, yeah, it'd probably be Whirlpool because that's fun with some of the crazy Saurian capture games and very kind of works well thematically. And then if I could pick a legacy, that's actually a good question. What legacy card would I want? Um, we got Orator. Orator's really good. Um, maybe Philophosaurus, but um, I think Failing Strike is actually in the set, so that wouldn't be a legacy. So I think maybe Philophosaurus actually to just get a little extra efficiency. Oh no. It probably would have to be either Tribute or Scudam. Yeah, Tribute and Scudam are always just good calls. So good. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Let's start with Adile Tulia. This one's fun and interesting. A 5-power dinosaur politician. Each time you exalt a friendly non-token creature, make a token creature. Actually, yeah, I feel like they really even maybe went further with exalt this set. That's right. Yeah, that's a really interesting combo piece. Amphora Captura. So good. Back from Mass Mutation. It's an artifact, it's an item. It comes with 2 each of Amber damage and draw enhancements. But anytime you're resolving a bonus icon, you can treat it as a capture instead, which is great. It's really good. Okay, Aristotle Mimus is a 5-power dinosaur philosopher. Probably most people would know this, but well, we'll see this built-in combo actually. So Aristotle Mimus is a special rarity, but if you get it, you get also. Um, where are they? I'll find them because they come together. You get Platypelta, and Socraterosaurus. So these three go together, and these three cards are a reference to the classical Greek philosophers Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Um, yeah, who were some pretty thinking dudes. Um, and Aristotle, by the way, taught Alexander the Great, in case you didn't know. It is a little funny because they're not Roman, they're Greek. But, wait, is that right? Yeah, that is right. Yeah, they're Greek. Um, but, the Romans stole, inherited something a lot from the Greeks. So, all right. So, anyway, the point is, when you reap with Socraterosaurus, who's a 5-powered dinosaur, they're all 5-powered dinosaur philosophers. So if you reap with Socraterosaurus, you get to draw a card and then put a wisdom counter onto Platopelta, I guess. When you reap with Platopelta, if you don't have a wisdom counter yet, you just archive a card. Otherwise, you draw a card, archive a card, and you can put a wisdom counter onto Aristotle Mimus. When you reap with Aristotle Mimus, if you don't have a wisdom counter, you can just play a card from your archives. But if you do have a wisdom counter, you draw a card, archive a card, and play a card from your archives. So if you can, reap in this order, that's pretty insane efficiency, right? You got 3 reaps, you drew 3 cards, you archived 2 cards, and you played a card from your archives. So that's real good. Now, have I ever seen that combo go off? No, but it's interesting and fun. Okay, moving along. City Gates is back from Worlds Collide. It's an artifact and location. When you action it, a friendly creature captures 1 amber, and if it's a dinosaur, it captures 2 instead. Conscription is new. It's an action with an amber that says play. If there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, make a number of token creatures equal to the difference. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of tokens, potentially. Although, you might be ahead on board, your dinos. Eclectic Ambrosius is a 4-powered dinosaur philosopher. At the end of your turn, you put a knowledge counter on Eclectic Ambrosius. And if you action Eclectic Ambrosius, you remove 3 knowledge counters from Eclectic Ambrosius. And if you do, you gain 6 amber. So I guess the obvious thing here is he just needs to sit out there for 3 turns, and then you can action him for 6 amber. And you could reap with him in the middle, but he needs to survive until that 4th turn. Again, never seen that actually go off. Edict of Neotaurus. This is an artifact with an amber. It's a law. Nice to see more laws out there. And it says the after creature reaps. The next time a creature is used that turn, it cannot reap. After a creature fights, the next time a creature is used that turn, it cannot fight. So you have to alternate between reaping and fighting. And it's kind of important that these are cannot effects, because cannot effects override must. Election. And interestingly, if your creatures are let's say all your creatures are enraged, you actually could reap with them, because if they can't fight, then they could reap. Election is an artifact with an amber. It's a law also. And it says that each creature gains after reap. Put a yay or nay counter on election. If it has 6 yay on it, you destroy it and each creature. If it has 6 nay on it, you destroy each artifact. This is kind of fun. Haven't seen a lot of games hinge on this, but it's kind of a fun little mini game. I like that sort of thing. Enlist Numery is an action with an amber. When you play it, you take control of an enemy creature with amber on it. And while it's under your control, it belongs to House Saurian instead of its original house. This is a fun card. And combos well with some of the other stuff in Saurian, so I like it. Forum of Giants is an artifact with an amber. It's a location, and it says at the start of your turn, the player who controls the most powerful creature gains an amber. That's a fun one. I've seen so many people wreck themselves with this card, because if you play it and then you cannot your opponent gets to do stuff in between your turns. So at the start of your turn, the game state is as your opponent left it. So it's often the case that that the opponent is able to get more value out of this. So for that reason, I think it's not a great competitive card. Somewhat matchup dependent, but it's one to be careful about. All right, Good of the Many is an action. When you play it, you destroy each creature that does not share a trait with another creature in its controller's battle line. Kind of a fun, often one-sided board wipe if you play it right. Hesteus Raptor, or as I call it, I Hate It Raptor. It's a 5-power dinosaur soldier with 1 armor. It's a rare, but if you get it, you're guaranteed to have 3 to 7 of them. It's like Plague Rats. And before it fights, you may exalt it, and if you do, deal 1 damage to the creature it fights for each amber on friendly Hesteus Raptors. So if you exalt it, it essentially is like Assault X, where X is the number of amber on all friendly Hesteus Raptors. It's interesting. It's just not good, and it makes me sad that it takes up so many deck slots. So, meh. If you could get one of them by itself, I think it would be interesting. And 5-power 1 armor is not nothing. I just don't love it. Legion's March is an action with an amber, and it says for the remainder of the turn, after you use a dinosaur creature, deal 1 damage to each non-dinosaur creature. Yeah, that is fine. Again, I don't think I've ever seen that be game deciding. Magistrate Crispus is an 8-power dinosaur politician that says at the end of your turn, each player takes control of each creature and artifact they own. So this is anti-Whirlpool and List Numery, all that sort of thing. Remember, own refers to which deck the thing came out of, not who's controlling it. So yeah, kind of an interesting effect to have it do that, but situational. There are a lot of games that go by with no cards changing control, so a bit situational. Although, hey, 8 power, I mean that's just fine to have an 8-power creature with no downside. Well, unless you were running a take control of your opponent's stuff deck. Patronage. This one's fun. It's an action. When you play it, you move half the amber from a creature to your pool, rounding up, and then you move the remaining amber from that creature to your opponent's pool. So the obvious use of this is to target one of your own creatures, where if it were to leave the board, all the amber would go to your opponent, and instead give half of it to you, but you're giving half to your opponent, and importantly, it's happening on your turn, where now they're going to have it at the start of their Forge a Key step. But still, this is often very good. And because it says rounding up, if you have 1 amber on your creature, then this just moves that amber to your pool and you're done. Okay, Rampaging Brutodon is a 12-power beast with 1 armor. In order to use it, you must destroy a friendly creature. When you play it, you make a token creature. That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. It would be... Yeah. I guess there are other ways that could have worded that, but it's fine. It's obvious what it means. Okay, Scylla is a 7-power beast. It gives each enemy creature after reap deal 4 damage to this creature, and it automatically brings in Charybdis to your deck. Is this the right way? Yeah. So you can kind of see how they overlap on the pictures. And Charybdis is a 7-power beast with each enemy creature gains before fight lose 1. So this is a fun one. This is a reference to the Odyssey by Homer, and the two creatures, Scylla and Charybdis, that were on opposite sides of a narrow channel that the ship had to go through. I love dinos. Yeah, so these are fun. Not often super game changing, although 7 power is good on its own. So I'm never sad to see them, and they can be pretty powerful actually. They're not game breaking, I guess I should say, but they are real problems. All right. Senator Brackus, love him. He's a 4-power dinosaur politician that says you may spend amber on friendly creatures as if it were in your pool, and after it fights or reaps, you exalt him. Spartosaur is a 6-power soldier dinosaur with 1 armor, and it says after a friendly creature is destroyed, destroy each non-dinosaur creature. Yeah, that's a nice one. It's very interesting. Oh, and it also has afterfight gain too, which is pretty crazy. People get a little confused sometimes. If you destroy the Spartosaur, it doesn't destroy each non-dinosaur creature because after a friendly creature is destroyed, Spartosaur's effect is not on the board. So important to realize that, but you can really abuse this to get good value. All right, Tectonic Shift is an action that says divide each player's battle line in half as evenly as possible without changing the order of creatures. For each battle line, destroy each creature in one of the halves. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And you're the one deciding which half, so you can really wreck your opponent that way. Training Costs is an action that cannot be discarded from your hand except through card abilities. When you play it, you lose 2 amber, and if you don't, you shuffle Training Costs into your deck. What in the world? It's so bad. Well, it's bad because it brings in the beefiest token, Bellatoran Warrior, who's a 5-powered dinosaur soldier with 2 armor. So Training Cost is the rare that is tied to the Bellatoran Warrior. And I'll tell you, this is a crazy creature to have as a token. It's very strong. A little insane, to be honest, for Alliance, since you could use the Bellatoran Warrior and not include the pod with the training cost. That's a pretty cool trick. But of course, it just depends on which is your best pod. And training cost is definitely a bad card. You don't want to have it. Unless your opponent's playing a Merkins deck. Anyway, so interesting there. I don't think that, say, the difference between Bellatoran Warrior and one of the other, like Trooper, is necessarily worth that downside. But it depends on what the rest of your deck is doing. Okay, on to uncommons. Ambrosia Outpost is an artifact with an amber. It's a location, and as action, put a friendly creature on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, move 1 amber from a friendly creature to your pool. This makes me sad because there have been cards, like you look at some of the other outposts, you know, the Equidon one, Equigi, says draw 3 cards. Lightbringer Outpost in Sanctum says capture 3 amber. The Brobnar one says deal 6 damage to a creature. Those are all effects that you can't find an artifact that will just deal 6 damage to a creature, or draw you 3 cards, or capture 3 amber in one action, in one use. But there are artifacts that move an amber from a friendly creature to your pool. So I definitely feel like this is under the power curve. Maybe if it said move 2, it would be better. As it is, I think it's kind of bad, just compared to the others. It's not a bad effect, it's just bad compared to the others. Ankylo Formation is an action with an amber. When you play it, you choose 1. For the remainder of the turn, a friendly creature gains skirmish, or exalt a friendly creature for the remainder of the turn. Each friendly creature gains skirmish. This is a fun one. I like it. And it is good that has a pip. because the effect I think is probably not strong enough unless you have a big board and you do the full like lots of creatures get skirmish thing. Then it's a really nice effect. But otherwise, I think it's just really good. It has the amber. Chaosodon is a 10 power beast with splash attack 3, but before it fights, you deal 3 damage to each of its neighbors. That's fun. I really like that effect. And obviously, you can manipulate your board to where this doesn't do so much harm. City State Interest. It's back, and it's so good. It's an action that says play each friendly creature captures one. I love it. I've always loved this card. Great. Hedonistic Intent is an action with an amber that says play exalt each flank creature. Yeah, that one's fine and interesting. Hoplites Dory is an upgrade with an amber. It gives a creature +2 power for each exhausted creature to its left. I have not had this matter much, so not convinced this is very helpful. Imperator Drusilla. This one's fun. It's a 4-power dinosaur soldier with 3 armor. And it says that while there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, Imperator Drusilla gains splash attack 4. That's pretty cool. and that play effect is rough, but sometimes it could be good, and it can be mitigated if you just have no creatures when you play this. But you could also imagine having a cool like a cadet or prospector and it being to your benefit. Okay, Inspiring Oration is an action with an amber. When you play it, you exalt a friendly creature and you make a token creature for each amber on that creature. That's fun because you've been exalting, capturing, and now you get to make a ton of tokens. That's really cool. Glad it's in uncommon. Here's Orator Hisaru. I mentioned that earlier. 3-power dinosaur politician with deploy. And when you play him, you ready and exalt each of his neighbors, and for the remainder of the turn, they belong to House Saurian. It's a really cool card because it just really enables you to get such good value. And obviously, you're trading 1 amber later for 2 to your opponent for 2 to you now, plus any cool benefits you could get. So, yeah, love this card. Very good. And especially fun in this set where there are so many ways where they're the outposts, right? Because you can use him, but then tuck him back and draw him back later, which is cool. Paraguardian is a 6-power dinosaur soldier with 1 armor. After it reaps, you may exalt it, and if you do, ward each of its neighbors. Here it is, Pax Sauriana. It's an action with 2 amber pips, and when you play it, you ward each creature. Very interesting. I guess it gets 2 amber pips because it's a double-sided effect, but wow. It's a crazy card. Really, really spices up the game. Okay, on to... No, this is still an uncommon. Phalanx Leader is a 4-power dinosaur politician. When you play it, you make a token creature immediately to its left. After it fights or reaps, each creature to its left gets +2 power for the remainder of the turn. It's a cool idea. I have not seen it matter much. Funny enough, if I remember right, they originally had him facing to the right, and then people were upset because they're like, no, he affects the creatures on his left. But if you look at the art, if you flipped it, then those creatures, number 1, would be on his left, actually, in the picture. And number 2, he'd be kind of leading them to the right. So he's the leader. The ones behind him would be getting the benefit. So I actually think they were wrong to flip this in response to the feedback they got. I don't know what people were thinking, but people are silly. Or maybe I'm misremembering everything. Controversy. Okay. Regrettable Meteor is an action with an amber. When you play it, you destroy each dinosaur creature and each creature with power 6 or higher. It's a fun one. It's thematic and often self-detrimental, but a good card, a fun card. Saurian is an artifact with an amber. It's a location, and when you play it, each creature with the lowest power can't reap. I played this in Alliance Sealed in Seattle, where I had a 2-power token, and my opponent was running Bellator and Warrior actually, and I manipulated the game state such that there were never any creatures below 5, and so even though my opponent had like 6 plus Bellator and Warriors out at all times, he could never reap with them, which made me so happy. It was very fun. It was very fun and weird. So I will always this card will always have a special place in my heart. It also is an excellent way to stop Scholar. So if you're ever playing Sealed Alliance Woe, I think Saurian is, if you have a chance to put in your deck, you just should. Tribune Pompatus. Love him. He's a 4-power dinosaur politician with 2 armor. Each friendly creature gets +2 amber for each amber, or +2 power for each amber on it. And before it fights, you may exalt him. So, yeah, it's a good creature. If you can protect him, he really can make your board unmanageable for your opponent, which is something you might like. Aquilia Lone Hero is a 6-power dinosaur soldier with 1 armor. And Omni, capture 1 if there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures. I have not seen this be super good, because most of the time if you're playing from behind on the board as Saurian, you're sad. Arm the Plebeians is an action with an amber. When you play it, you make a token creature and then ward it. Pretty cool. Ballistego is a 5-power dinosaur soldier. While it has amber on it, it gets splash attack 3, and when you play it, you may exalt it. Interesting to compare this with Chaosodon. Obviously, this doesn't have the same downside as that, and I love the art on this one. All right, Beware the Ides is an action with an amber. When you play it, you deal 23 damage to a creature in the center of its controller's battle line. And we are in commons now. Since Aquilia, actually. All right, Chancellor Dexterous is a 3-power dinosaur politician. After it reaps, you may exalt him, or his right neighbor, and if you do, that creature belongs to House Saurian for the remainder of the turn instead of its other houses. This is interesting. Not super good, in my opinion, but theoretically good. All right, Crushing Charge is an action that destroys each creature with power 4 or lower, and then you gain a chain. Fun, often one-sided board wipe, just depending on the situation. If it's not, you should discard it. Epic Poem is kind of brutal. It's an action. When you play it, you exalt a friendly creature and gain 1 amber for each amber on that creature. And you can often just get huge value out of this. It's a fun card. Faust the Great is a 4-power dinosaur. Your opponent's keys cost +1 for each friendly creature with amber on it, and when you play it, you may exalt a friendly creature. Very nice, fun way to manipulate that amber on your side that you've been capturing or exalting. Grammaticus Thrax is a 5-power dinosaur philosopher with enhance of 2 capture and a damage. And then, this one's crazy. Legionary Trainer is a 2-power dinosaur soldier that says each friendly token creature enters play ready. That is pretty crazy, and when you play it, you make a token. That is pretty crazy. It depends, obviously, on what your token is, but for some of them, it just is amazing. Okay, obviously, it's better if you have Saurian tokens because your opponent is just going to want to kill this thing. So, so if you don't have Saurian tokens, then you better hope you can protect this somehow. Longisaur Lector is a 6-power dinosaur politician with play after reap. You may exalt Longisaur Lector, and if you do, make a token creature. Pale into Significance is an action with an amber. It has you destroy each creature with the lowest power, which will often be tokens. There's that Phalanx Strike. Love it. It's an action with an amber. When you play it, you choose a creature and you deal 1 damage to it for each friendly creature. And you may exalt a friendly creature to repeat the preceding effect. So you can hit up to twice. Part of why I love Phalanx Strike is it's one of the few cards that can kill through Encounter Suit. in just one card. Obviously, you have to have enough creatures to pull it off, but it can be very good. And what it does is it helps you keep board control, which is really good. Praetor Marius is a 5-powered dinosaur politician with after reap for each exhausted creature to Marius's left, capture 1. This can be really good. Depending on the situation, Marius can really change the way the game is going. And sometimes he just fizzles because he's slow. Recruit is an action. When you play it, you make a token creature, and if you exalted a friendly creature this turn, then you archive Recruit. Makes sense. Symposium is an action that has you exalt, ready, and use a friendly creature, and then if it's a token creature, you may exalt, ready, and use another friendly creature, which can be quite good. Scholar is a 1-powered dinosaur politician with after reap, draw 1 card. So this is one of the 3 tokens, and actually we'll just flip all these over. So Scholar is a crazy good one. The problem with Scholar is that he's 1 power, so a Saurian or an autocannon will completely turn him off. But outside of that, the combo to go for is this with Legionary Trainer, because you get to immediately reap and draw a card, and then potentially you drew a card that makes you another token, at which point you get to reap and draw a card. It's very common with this type of setup to be able to reap and draw 6, which is good. Making 6 amber, drawing 6 card is a good way to get closer to winning the game. And that certainly makes Legionary Trainer a must-kill for your opponent. Senator is a 2-powered dinosaur politician with action. Keys cost +1 during your opponent's next turn. Definitely more survivable, a more defensive ability. And then Trooper is a 5-powered dinosaur soldier with after fight or reap, you exalt Trooper. This is an interesting one. Some people I respect are really pro Trooper. I personally have not been that impressed with it, but I can see the value. I think I tend to play a different style, I guess, but it can be quite good, and especially if you're using it to like fight down big things all the time, that can be quite good. So, okay, that was Saurian in Winds of Exchange. It's overall, I would say, a pretty good. Not the highest in power, but some good options, some really fun options to play. So that was that. Hope you enjoyed and that you will get out there and forge some keys.